football field large with transpired solar collector to heat and cool it. These are collections of the first industrial revolution. A prototype airport, solar-powered airport, would turn out that the solar collectors would basically be powering all the rental cars, which would all be electric in the future, as we sort of project out the way these systems are going to go. Working with NASA, we're developing a sustainability base for NASA, earthbound base building here at Ames near Moffett Field. And the building will be solar powered and naturally ventilated and geothermally heated and cooled and so on and so forth. So it's essentially Earth-based. I like to call it Mission to Planet Earth to Become in Peace. And you can see the difference in energy consumption versus the typical office building, the difference in potable water consumption versus a typical office building, and difference in sewer water compared to a normal office building. For NorCal and the waste management system in San Francisco, an experimental and concepts for how to make a zero waste facility for San Francisco. For large-scale retail, the schematics for the concept of distribution centers, 10 million square feet, as large as 10 million square feet, where materials are coming in and materials going back into closed cycles, sitting in the landscape, invisible from the landscape, hidden by berms, and connected to large-scale transit systems. And I threw this picture in. This is a SunPower a solar farm in Bavaria. And I just wanted to show that this kind of facility where we have large-scale solar collectors could be used for distribution centers for large-scale mobility systems for materials flow as well as just solar collectors. And as a venture capitalist, we're involved with solar energy at large scales. It's been estimated that we could power the United States with solar collectors in the desert with 109 miles square. And if we start to imagine what it would be like to power our systems here with wind and solar, we're going to have to go to scale, and we're going to have to figure out as a culture how we want to deploy that. We're also the venture capitalist behind Better Place, which is an electric car proposal for Israel and Denmark so far, which is being taken up by people all over, which essentially is going to be looking at the idea of the battery as something that is fungible and can drop in and out, and you can go to battery replacement stations where your batteries are taken out from below the car and pop back in, new fresh batteries, and off you go. And this protocol has received tremendous approbation in Israel. It will be deployed there, and in Denmark, where I've just been. And it's very exciting to watch as we move into the next generation of vehicular thinking. And then I'm going to close with a couple of projects that are close to my heart. This one is one I'm doing with Brad Pitt and Cherokee Investment Partners in New Orleans. This is where the levee broke in the lower Ninth Ward. And after 2.5 years of inactivity, Brad and I and Tom Darden all got together to decide to sort of see if we could help out. So one of the first things that we did was have a fundraiser where we took cradle-to-cradle tents built on scaffolds and laid them out on the site and showed the buildings that were missing, and decided to help build 150 houses for residents of the lower Ninth Ward. Raised the money and hired 13 different architects to develop houses on cradle-to-cradle protocol using modulars and panelized and stick-built and all these experiments. We're lifting the houses up above the floodplain so that people can live in a floodplain safely. They're solar powered. The average energy bill for one of the residents the other day we found out was $20 a month. So these are just some of the houses. These are designed by different architects. This is Graft out of Berlin. Karen Timberlake from Philadelphia. We're looking at the idea that cradle-to-cradle materials will have the next 7 generations to evolve, and that we can start with conventional construction as best we can, do our best, but over time we can develop the the certifications and the protocols that allow us to get cradle-to-cradle products all the way. And so we're designing a house now for Make It Right that will be 100% cradle-to-cradle. I'll finish with two of the larger urban projects. This is a project for Almere, which is in Holland, right across from Amsterdam. And we're doing a project to look at building an island out here in the Almere. But in all events, the first thing we did was develop with the city of Almere a set of principles. And what we found is that typically people who go about starting a sustainability strategy start with metrics, and then they move to tactics, and then to strategies, then to goals, and they forget the principles. So what we do is start with principles, move to goals, strategies, tactics, and then metrics. So working with Almere, the first job of the teams were to create principles for the city. Cradle to Cradle is one of those in their system, the sixth. But basically, the city has come together to develop its own principles and to chart its course for the future. And then finally, some work we've done in China. China will house hundreds of millions of people in the next few years. So we were invited by the city of Luzhou to do the horizontal master plan for its extension, and which we did. It's a city of 1 million people in this limestone karst landscape of southern China. And you can see they have hydrological problems. So we designed a horizontal plan for this site, which is adjacent to the city, which is monoculture. And after doing that, we started to speculate on what it would mean to have a waste equals food city. And what if all the sewage would be taken to sewage treatment plants that would create fertilizer? It could be used to restore biodiversity and to grow food and other crops and parks, to service the parks and things. And create struvites, which are mineral agglomerations of crystalline magnesium, phosphorus, and ammonia. And return those to the city for nutrition, while purifying water, growing bamboo for doors and floors, things like that. We also looked at how much energy it would take to power a city that was very efficient, and how much of the bioregion would be required to service it. But I think the thing that we found most dramatic was the thought of putting the soil on the roofs of the city. So think about Paris with farms on the roof. And this idea, this concept, came from a speech given by the Premier of China, where he said that if China continues its current development at its current rate, it will lose 20% of its farmland by 2020. 20% of its farmland by 2020. So he said, why not have the development happen, but increase the fecundity of the soils, using the connection to humans, and going back full circle in my life to the idea that night soil could go off to these central plants where it's properly attended, turned into safe, healthy fertilizers, clean water, and materials for the building of the city, and then return to the citizens where they could do pot gardening on the roofs using the gray water from the buildings themselves. And if you think it's totally loopy, somebody in China sent me this picture. This is a crop of rice that was grown on his terrace based on this strategy. So the question is, what is our intention as a species? Our goal is a delightfully diverse, safe, healthy, and just world with clean air, water, soil, and power, economically, equitably, ecologically, and elegantly enjoyed. And our first question is, how do we love all the children of all species for all time? Thank you very much.